People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Now, what was I going to talk about? Not going to be here long. You lot always hear me say that, and I'm here for like 30 minutes. But either way, couple of young players that have left Arsenal. You guys know me, I love football and youth players especially, so I'm always going to track their progress. Not going to speak about everybody, but couple words on a bit in it. Not in depth, but couple words. Now, first and foremost, sadly, Donny Malen is out for the rest of the season. He was having a very productive spell at PSV, really growing. Last season he grew, this season he really grew as a player. Done well, forgive me if I'm wrong, against Holland. How can he play against Holland if he's from Holland? Who did Holland play? I swear they played Holland, like played Germany or something, and he scored. Or was it France? One of them games there, he played well. He's played well in a couple of games. A couple of games that he's played for Holland, whatever he's done. And I'm sure prior to his injury, he had more than 10 goals and similar assists. So he's really coming up as a player and increasing his stature in world football, really. And there was actually, you saw rumours of going to Barcelona. Whether that's true or not is another thing. But either way, the best thing he could do is forget about Arsenal, but play well to the point of people are looking around at Arsenal and saying, whose decision was that to get rid of him? Because especially looking a bit ahead, what you're seeing, Lacazette and Aubameyang's futures up in air. I know Aubameyang's spoken positively, but until contracts are signed, things are still in the air. Thinking we could have had someone there. Now we've got Eddie Nketiah, Tyrese, John Jules, Balogun, Greenwood. Hopefully these men can step up and do things. But nonetheless, you're looking at Malen and thinking he could have been there. He can potentially not just exclusively play up front, play on the flanks and whatnot. He obviously chose to leave. The club wanted to extend his contract allegedly, but why would the man want to leave if he believed truly that he'd get an opportunity? And he might have believed that Arsenal. He only speaks positive about Arsenal, but same way PSV was offering him a meal ticket, and like you lot in your professional jobs and me the same, when someone offers you an opportunity, you have to grab it with both hands. And he looking back now, does he regret this decision, or was it a bad decision? Of course not. To leave, really and truly with you. It's sad that after a productive season and to cap off his good progress, I'm not going to say a man was nailed on, but near enough nailed on with Holland to go to the Euros. He's now out of that. Injuries are part and parcel and simply an occupational hazard of being a professional footballer. It's sad that typically it happens just when you're doing positive, or just when something important like an international tournament is round the corner. But tough times don't last, tough people do. Malen is still young enough to get over this injury and still have a good career. And listen, I love him as a footballer, man. Like, I love every player that's left Arsenal, man. I still sometimes think, what if with Mavididi and all of these sort of man there, anyone that's been through Haaland, I'll go and watch you lot, man, and whatnot. But moving on, Dan Crowley, I'm sure you lot all know about him. He's now applying his trade at Birmingham. He's from Coventry, so I think that's not too far. So he knows about the local rivalry. Previous Villa boy, came to Arsenal, billed as the next Jack Wilshere. Listen, this is through no fault of his own. These are the things that fans and whatnot have an issue with. He was a good player, but in his position, there was a lot of midfielders, and it's tough for young players. It didn't happen for him. It seems like the wind's got an opinion on Dan Crowley too. But moving on, he left. Obviously, he went to Holland. It took him a while to get things going, but more so last season, really came up as a footballer. At Birmingham now, doing his thing. You've seen him previously linked with clubs in the Prem, and he scored his first goal for Birmingham. And that's always a nice feeling as a young pro, making your way to score your goal for your first club, or just to score goals in the professional game. Obviously, he's going to need to do more of that for, again, admittedly, I can't keep an eye on watching these guys specifically to see week in, week out what individual role they're playing in. But he screams someone to me that long term is going to be a central based midfield player. He needs to obviously do the dirty work in the game, but when it comes down to it, goals and assists. And what I remember from Dan Crowley, he was very good technically, set pieces, dribbling, was not afraid to take a shot, was very much a star boy in sorts, and he's still on his track to having a decent career and whatnot. João Virginia, keeper, who are quite upset to see let go, man. Obviously, it's tough for young keepers, and seeing Leno doing well, he wanted to keep it moving, innit? And I'm sure, I can't remember the competition age group, but he had a decent Euros, and just off the back of a positive European competition at youth level, he was bought by Everton. People could say the Everton move potentially could be bewildering because Pickford's playing. I know he was on the bench a couple of times, but is he getting a look in? He's been recalled from Reading after a mixed spell. I think he had some positive moments. He had some when they were going through tough periods as a team. He dropped a few clangers, and I'm sure he'd admit. And he's had some testing periods. He's still a young player, even more so a goalie. I believe he's got potential to be a Premier League keeper of some sorts. And one thing you could say about Arsenal, we produced some decent keepers, or did previously, because Fabianski was a Premier League keeper. Chesney, whatever you say, is at Juventus now. Menune, I'm going to claim that one previously was playing in the Prem. I don't know what I've gone for him now, but yeah, do you see what I'm saying? You'd like to think the same thing could happen for him at Everton, and I really liked him as a goalie, man. I think one thing I liked about him was bravery. He had a lot of courage, man. He put his body on the line, and it sounds silly because as a keeper, you've got to be a nutter really to run or get hurt and things like that. But he does all of that. I like that. Rene-Adelaide, he's left, and obviously he was having a good positive spell at Lyon and really establishing himself. And he was at Angers last season, playing week in, week out. Didn't have the most amazing seasons, had some good moments, had some inconsistent moments, like he would at 21 years of age. He's not a fully established in his prime sort of thing yet. He still needs currency's minutes, and he's one thing with young players, whether it's players brought into academies or players for England, minutes are currency. You can train as much as you want with first team setups, be on the bench, play the occasional cup match, but does the manager trust you? I'm not saying he didn't, but do they trust you to play week in, week out? Are you going to evolve from playing anything minimum than 5-10 games on the spin? What's going to help you evolve more? 5 to 10 games at championship or top league level, or doing the same thing at 23s, where when you're Rene-Adelaide and Crowley and all of these people at some point, you get too good for it. Even in Arsenal's academy now, there's certain players that I believe are too good for under 23s football. Chelsea as well. Like, you go through, and at all clubs, like, you're not learning anything, really and truly. Under 23s football is a graveyard, really. And yeah, man, Jeff's left, and I felt he could have done well when Emery sold him. I wish he kept him, because I think Arteta would have messed with him, but I think he's going to go on to be a French international of some sort. Whether that's one cap and DG can just claim that is another thing, but I think he can. And he actually spoke about his time at Arsenal. He said, there were several circumstances when I had the opportunity to get playing time. I achieved good and bad performances. I think that was the only one I got. And I think that article went on to say that he was playing the occasional cup game at times, and he kind of alluded to, not only is he playing this cup game, he's playing with a bunch of people that don't typically play, so there's no rhythm. He had a lot of injuries, ultimately didn't get enough chances, as good as he was, so he elected to leave. Emery said he wouldn't get a look in, and he returned to his homeland, and he's developing. And ironically, if he develops, he can still move to a Premier League team, and I'm sure I'm not saying he's Pogba, but similar to Pogba, you feel to a degree there's unfinished business in England and whatnot. Or you can get a move elsewhere. It is what it is, because look at Gnabry. Guy couldn't buy a game. You don't know me. The whole reason I'm here sitting here making videos because of Gnabry. I was livid when he left permanently, people. That was the first ever video. Livid. Because I knew this guy was going to be a madness. And we had him right there. Imagine we had Pepe, Gnabry, Martinelli, Nelson and these guys. Obviously I'm reaching a bit because someone might not necessarily be here. But look at Gnabry. Like, I know he loves Arsenal. He'll always love Arsenal. But I wouldn't say he necessarily regrets Arsenal in hindsight, because he's at Munich now doing his thing. Chris Willock can't seem to buy a game at West Bromwich Albion, and he might have to review his situation this month as well. And I small hope that he can start, progressing his thing and doing his thing. Armstrong Oko-Flex, a lot of you might not necessarily know about him. He turned down a scholarship to leave Arsenal and went to Celtic. He's been training a lot with Celtic's first team. There's actually a lot of interest by England to prize him away from Ireland's international setup, and also to bring him back to the country. Now, he's only 17 and he's got a lot of time on his hands, and Celtic appears to be the best place for him, so he might as well stay and do his thing. I would love Arsenal to buy Dembele from Celtic. I think he's going to be a good player. But moving away from that, I've seen Musa play for, Yunus Musa play for, obviously play for Valencia a couple of times. Most recently play against Chelsea in the youth gen. Didn't have the best of games. But it was interesting him seeing in that sixth position, in that withdrawn role, people. I think he didn't have the best of games, but you know what you're going to get with him. He's very good technically, and I think he's going to be a good player, man. Really decent player in the future, and he's at the best place in Valencia. Marcus McGuane, apparently, I literally just typed in his name coincidentally on Google, and an article by The Sun, whether it's true or not, came up and said he's in talks with an unnamed English club. Whether that's on loan or permanently is another thing at the time of making this video, people. But it'd be decent for him because he obviously come through at Arsenal, went Barcelona. Obviously, people would have said you wouldn't break into the first team, and he to a degree might have known it would have been difficult. But at the end of it, he played first team level technically. He got to train with Messi, train with world class coaches and players. He technically made his debut for the, well, didn't I don't know if he technically played with Messi in that game, but he played with Messi in training. But he technically played professionally for Barcelona, and he's still young enough to really go somewhere and put his roots down and be someone now in this football thing and establish himself. He's been on loan at Telstar in Holland with good friend and former teammate. Shout out to Charlie Gilmore. Because he was one of the, as I'm making my own way in Deluded stuff, Charlie Gilmore was one of the first people at Holland and actually replied back on, not a funny thing, but in the Instagram DMs and whatnot, and said, yeah, I'll do that interview if you think. So shout out to Gilmore, I have a lot of time for him. And he's doing his thing playing for Telstar in the second division on loan from Norwich, and I think he's going to have a decent career. But back to Marcus McGuane. He's been on loan at Telstar as well with his good friend and former teammate at Arsenal, Charlie Gilmore. And it's now time for him probably to find some stability to play in a first team setup where the manager's going to give him an honest chance of starting week in, week out, because there's not really any settlement at Barca. He's probably in that, what I call purgatory in that. You're there, you train occasionally with the first team, but your Barcelona B, is there necessarily a pathway? You can go out on loan, but these loan things can become cycles of one place and that place and this place. So he probably wants to find stability, and I'm pretty sure away from football, the experience of Barcelona has helped him grow as a man. So it's now time, if allegedly the reports are true, to come back to England and establish himself in the game in whatever way he wants to do. But on that note, people, DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking.